All right. So, Master of the Universe. I haven't seen Master of the Universe, guys. I'm talking about the TV show or the earlier film. Um, I'm not a Masters of the Universe fan. I have nothing against it. It was just something I never got around to watching. So, for me, I definitely went into this new movie blind, not really knowing anything about it. I didn't really understand. Well, I didn't understand any of the lore. I didn't have any expectations for the backgrounds for any of the characters. All I know is I know who He-Man is and I know who Skeletor is, and that's it. I didn't know the names of the locations or any of the other characters. So this was a fun experience getting thrown into this brand new world, starting at the beginning, pretty much for the first time. And this was a wild ride. There was some, I would say, pros and cons to this movie. And the cons, I feel like, is such a common complaint that it doesn't really matter. It was just something that kind of bothered me a little bit. So the only complaint for me is, even though I thought the action was pretty good, the acting was good, the script for a lot of it was good, but with Skeletor, and my issue isn't even with Jared Leto this time, guys. I mean, his performance as Skeletor was fine. I didn't have an issue with it per se, but a script, he would have this really cool, almost badass dialogue, and it's a suspenseful scene or moment where he's giving this really dark speech, and I'm in the moment. I'm like, wow, this is the vibe. This is going really well. And then there's some bad joke at the end of it where he's laughing, he's looking around, wondering, looking at the rest of the bad guys. Hey, that's your cue to do this or that. And then he continues to laugh, and then they go do their thing. It's almost that Marvel humor, I guess, that just really bugged me because, like I said, I thought the action was really good and there was a neat story, and these scenes were built up to be so intense, only to sort of be ruined by a bad joke at the end of it. So, I don't know if that's really a worthy complaint. It was just something that was just annoying because it was consistent. I mean, that exact same thing happened, especially with the laughs specifically, happened a few times, 3 or 4 times, I think. So it was definitely bothersome, but it was still a fun movie. So we have He-Man. We get this really cool opening where where we see him as a kid, and there's this giant battle that takes place where Skeletor basically invades Eternia. And there's this huge battle sequence. It looks great, and the CGI looks fine. I mean, there's really nothing going wrong up until his joke at the end of his speech. But the opening was epic. It was a really neat opening. I was immersed in the world, and I was hyped for the rest of the film. And then we get He-Man sent to Earth with a sword, and now he's living a regular life. And then it just gets a little weird because we know he's supposed to be incredibly powerful, and like I said, I haven't seen the cartoon. Maybe there is a segment or storyline or story arc in the cartoon where he's on Earth, powerless and living life. But for a movie, I felt like it was just kind of a waste of time, considering all of their action sequences and their Eternia part of the movie was so good. I felt like they were just wasting their time showing the Earth stuff, which I don't know. I just felt like they were wasting time with that. But it kind of went on for a little bit. Felt like it went on a little too long. But irregardless, he's looking for the sword online. He ends up finding the sword and ends up stealing it. So now he's kind of arrested. But then we have Teela, I believe is her name. She shows up, and she has these great action sequences where she's the competent one and he's not. And that's fine. But I've always known him to be the warrior character. So to see him as this sort of bumbling idiot was just sort of awkward. Like I said, maybe he's that way in the cartoon for a little bit, but for that to be the only thing I know about this franchise, and then to see him act that sort of way, was just sort of awkward at first. But Teela, I think, overall had an extremely great arc. I thought the actress does really well. Obviously, Riverdale, I think, is supposed to be her most commonly known role. And then despite the later seasons of Riverdale, because I didn't finish the show, I had started it, despite the later seasons going off the rails, so I've heard, her acting, I remember being consistent. I remember she gave the better performance in that show. So to see her in this movie was really cool to see her go from a CW show to a big blockbuster movie. And so when these two characters meet up, of course, she's helping him get back to her ship to get to Eternia. And once they do, then everything starts picking up again. The story's picking up and everything's sort of moving forward, where we get her father. We see him again after however many years it has been now, and we see the army sort of in shambles. Skeletor is still looking for the sword. We see that he has taken over, but he wants absolute power, and he can't have that without the sword, and that's the one thing he's been obsessed over. So, of course, when the sword shows up in Eternia, he's after them all over again. The Resistance, I guess, as you call it, they've been in hiding, but now they've been found, so now there's a big attack. And this is where where He-Man ends up remembering the right words to say to activate the powers that come with the sword. So now we get to see him fight for the first time. And yeah, he's a little rusty. He doesn't really, his whole point of him as a kid is he's not a great fighter. That was the impression we get when he's a child. And so he's sort of rusty now in present day, having these powers for the first time, but he's powerful. And he realizes, hey, now I can do this. I didn't have the skills, but now I have the power to overpower my enemies. And so we sort of have this sort of up and coming storyline of this guy who couldn't really do much, and now he can. So his character arc I thought was really nice, and this escalates to a long ship chase scene with obviously green screen flight chase. So this was the only part where it was noticeable. Yeah, this looks like green screens. I could be wrong. I don't think so, but I could be. And so anyway, this chase scene goes on for a little bit. They end up crashing. Some of the characters have a little heart-to-heart, and they're ready to go fight Skeletor. He wants to get his parents back and just save Eternia. So now he's hyped up on hope. And so as they go, obviously he comes in contact with his father now, where we see his own power ends up killing his father accidentally, of course, but it happens. So now we get this really dark moment for him, and he's thrown in prison with the rest of his allies, with the rest of the Resistance, but he realizes, hey, we can all do this together. So now we can break down the gates. And so they break down the gates, and then they all start fighting, and there's this big climactic battle. That's the gist of this movie, being an action movie. We have, when Skeletor finds them, there's a big battle, then there's the flight chase scene. Then there's a battle of He-Man versus some of Skeletor's guards. Then he's in prison, and now when they break out, now it's another big battle, and it stays that way throughout the rest of the movie until ultimately he does defeat Skeletor. So it's an action film. That's what it is at its core. But there's a franchise to it. I'm sure they're going to try to do another one, and I have no idea how far Masters of the Universe is going to go as far as being a franchise is concerned. Obviously, it's come a long way to now have a movie, so we'll see how long this movie can project the franchise, how much longer it can project the franchise. So, I would see another one. I thought it was fun. Like I said, there's some basic Marvel humor in there, but if the humor is something that you don't really care about, or you just get over it, or it doesn't bother you, then I think you're going to enjoy this, because there's a lot of fun action in this film. So that's what I would say, is go into it expecting low quality humor, but mid to high quality action sequences. And if those are your expectations, I think you're going to be just fine. Like I said, I was brand new to this whole world, and I thought it was pretty good. Plus, there's just a really good cast. All of the characters are played by someone you'd recognize from, these other huge projects. And so I thought it was just a really great cast, and the script, for the most part, I thought was fine. The action was good, and everything sort of flowed, and it was, for beginners like myself getting into this world, it was easy to absorb. And so I think that's what made it so much fun, is that I didn't feel like I was lost or left behind when it comes to the lore of this franchise. I think I was able to grasp what's going on and then just enjoy it. So yeah, check it out, guys. Thanks for watching my review. Keep it digging.